1979 was like, all you other years can just scoot away because we're better than all y'all. Hey guys and gals, it's Hannah. It's time to do a little video, finally. And this one's a little different. I am focusing on all the awesome albums that were released in 1979. And I got the idea for this video kind of randomly. I was spinning records one night and I just kept pulling, by chance, albums that were released in 1979. So I figured why not just do a video kind of showcasing a bunch of albums from that year. And I'm going to be focusing on rock, punk, and post-punk primarily because that's my jam. So let's just get started. The first one, speaking of jam, let's start with one of my favorite bands ever, The Jam. And this is probably my third favorite record by them. It's called Setting Suns, and it's on Polydor right here. What I've always loved about The Jam is how tight and sharp they were musically. There's some really political and ferocious songs on this record, like Eaton Rifles, Thick as Thieves, Private Hell. Just really excellent album. Many consider this album their peak. I don't really need the cover of Heatwave, but I love all the rest of the songs. So this is a pretty essential one from the Jam's discography, and that's the first one I wanted to mention. All right, moving on to power pop, and one of the best power pop debuts, in my opinion, from the records. They are, I guess, coined as the British Big Star. So this is just their self-titled record. I like this gatefold a lot right there. And this is the US release. The UK release is titled Shades in Bed. So thank you to Joe for sending me, I guess, an extra copy of this. I'm going to be sending it along to a friend. Anyway, this album has some of my favorite power pop tunes, and I featured it in my power pop video. But my favorite song on this record is the last song on side one called Up All Night. It is just a gorgeous power pop song. So Starry Eyes is another hit. Teen-A-Rama. Yeah, you guys need to hear this record. The third album from Japan, titled Quiet Life. If you've been watching my last few videos, you know that I'm really in a big Japan phase. This is a French press of Quiet Life on that, I'm not even gonna pronounce it. This is where I consider them to really get good and go more into a synth-based direction with their music. You just need to hear their stuff on vinyl, especially because that's where their albums just really pop out of the speakers. Mick Karn's bass playing is extraordinary. I did recently get a special pressing of one of their albums I did not have on vinyl that I'm going to be showing in an upcoming finds video, and then one of my friends sent me an awesome 12-inch single as well that I'll be showing. So Japan's Quiet Life. Of course, we have Fleetwood Max Tusk, and I've always preferred the Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham lineup of Fleetwood Mac. That's just my personal preference of the band, but this is kind of, you know, a little bit of an underrated album from them. Most of you will recognize their hit Sarah. I really love Walk a Thin Line. That's another favorite on here. So Fleetwood Mac's Tusk. I will kind of go through some of these quickly, just so as to not make it a super long video, because I'm known to do that. So let's see if I can stay on track. The next one, XTC's Drums and Wires. There's a lineup change on this album for them. I'll go ahead and show the label with the inner sleeve with the lyrics. It is on Virgin Records. This is a rhythmic and quirky album, one of their best albums in my opinion. There's a step up in songwriting because Colin Moulding, he contributes a lot to this album, and that some of his best songs are on here, like Making Plans for Nigel. I love 10 Feet Tall. So amazing album, XTC's Drums and Wires. Also, the title of this record is rather fitting to how it sounds, I guess. I don't know if that makes any sense. Next, we have David Bowie's Lodger. And thanks again to David up in Canada for sending me this record, David Craner. I'm not an expert on David Bowie, but this is part of the Berlin trilogy of albums he released, and this is the third one in that trilogy, with the others being Lowe and Heroes. And I feel like this is kind of an underrated album of his. There's more world music on this record. I love the opening track, Fantastic Voyage, Move On, but to me side 2 is really the standout side. I was more impressed with side 2, and it's on RCA Victor. And the contributions from Adrian Belew, I hope I'm saying that right. I just feel like his guitar contributions to this record really elevated it to a whole new level. So David Bowie's Lodger, another fantastic release from 1979. All right, we're going back to power pop, and this one is Nick Lowe's Labor of Lust, one of his most well-known albums. Got it on Columbia here. So of course his huge hit Cruel to Be Kind is the opener. I'm sure most of you have heard that song. Nick Lowe, also an amazing producer of some punk albums. Go ahead and look that up if you don't believe me. That blew my mind when I read about that. So Nick Lowe's Labor of Lust, power pop master. Oh yeah, we gotta bring up Tom Petty's Damn the Torpedoes. This is a really clean copy. I'm really happy to own this. Backstreet Records, right here. Classic, straightforward rock and roll. You can't go wrong with any Tom Petty. Refugee is on here. Here Comes My Girl. Even the Losers, Don't Do Me Like That. Yeah. All right, we're moving on to some Talking Heads. Gotta have some Talking Heads. And this is a new purchase for me. I found a Portuguese pressing of this album for a really, really good deal. It's on Sire. Yeah, I think it was like $9 or $10. I found a seller online, and I actually bought a bunch of stuff from his collection that was just going for insanely low prices, so I couldn't pass it up. I'll be showing a bunch of that haul in a future video. But anyway, Fear of Music, Talking Heads. This might be my favorite Talking Heads album. I can't totally commit to that yet because I think I have one more studio album I have yet to hear from the Talking Heads. But I've been adding more to my collection lately. This one, it's dark, but it's upbeat, if that makes any sense. They're really in a category all their own, aren't they? Just an incredibly inventive band. Fabulous production from Brian Eno. Some of my favorite tracks on here were Mind, Life During Wartime, Heaven, and Drugs. So if you haven't heard this one from Talking Heads, this is one to own. See the trend here? 1979 is kicking butt. So I've talked a lot about this album already, but we have to feature it in this video because it came out in 1979. How could you not mention it? Joy Division's Unknown Pleasures. This is my original US copy. The vinyl is in really good shape. I'm just so happy to own it. Factory Records. Yes, this, I have that. I have got the 2 CD deluxe edition, and then I have this recent reissue. It's on red vinyl. It came out, I think, in 2019. Sounds really good. I was happy with this pressing. So, probably the definitive, ultimate post-punk album, in my opinion. This is just a staple in my collection. I don't know, it's like they made Misery, Pain, and Alienation sound good. This puts me in a trance whenever I listen to it. It's got that winning blend of guitars, Peter Hook's bass lines, and Ian Curtis's kind of baritone, monotone voice. It works so well. One of my favorite albums of all time, right here. If I had to pick one song, probably Shadow Play from this record. Yes, next we have The Damned and their album Machine Gun Etiquette. This is actually an Australian press. The cover is beat up, but the vinyl is in really good shape. It's on Chiswick, that label. Found this at a record show, I think in Seattle, last year or the year before. Anyway, The Damned are my #1 favorite punk band of all time. Those of you who follow me probably already know that. I just love Captain Sensible. He's one of my favorite lead guitarists ever. Just an amazing musician. And I love Dave Vanion's vocals. Anyway, this album, killer punk album. Melody Lee, Just Can't Be Happy Today, Love Song, and of course, the epic Smash It Up. One of the most hummable punk songs ever. So, damn, Machine Gun Etiquette. Oh, yes. All right, B-52s, their debut right here. This and Wild Planet are just amazing from them. I think I like Wild Planet just a smidge more, but can't beat this debut. Just a very original, campy, eccentric band. It's like surf rock meets new wave meets post-punk. There's a bunch of genres on this record. It's so fun. I love the B-52s. Dances Mess Around, Rock Lobster. Definitely one to have in the collection. Warner Brothers. Next we have Gang of Fours Entertainment. What an album here. I'll go ahead and show the label. Warner Brothers again. So influential to so many bands, especially this album. I love Andy Gill's guitar style. Lots of feedback, fast strumming. I think he just died early last year, which is a bummer. There actually is a new Gang of Four box set out. I've been seeing people show that on Instagram. But yeah, this is classic. Damaged Goods. At Home, He's a Tourist. Anthrax. This is awesome. Gang of Four. Next we have a band I was kind of late to the party on, and that's the Buzzcocks. They actually had 2 albums from that year. This is Singles Going Steady, which is probably one of the best compilations ever, in my opinion. I have the version with the bonus tracks on here, but another album that was released that year from them, their studio release, is called A Different Kind of Tension, which I don't have yet. I have their first 2 albums on a CD. It's like a 2-in-1 CD, and I've just been listening to them a lot lately. I watched a documentary that I found on YouTube. It's like an hour long or so, but it features both Buzzcocks and the next band I'm going to show. This is just like the perfect marriage of pop and punk. I really love this song, Our Everything. That's one of the bonus tracks, actually. But of course, you know, years and years ago, I remember hearing Orgasm Addict and What Do I Get? But I really hadn't explored their stuff until recently, or I've been doing a deep dive recently, and I'm just really loving them. So yeah, Ever Fall in Love, that's another good one. Really solid compilation here. Sorry I can't show the studio album because I don't have it, but I'll put a picture of it, yeah, probably over here. So since I mentioned the Buzzcocks, Magazine also had an album that came out that year. And if you don't know, early on, Howard Devoto, he was actually the singer early on in the Buzzcocks, and then he left to form Magazine. And I'm talking about their second album called Secondhand Daylight. Pretty bleak subject matter on this album. It's like art rock and post-punk, kind of a unique group. I actually recently picked up some Magazine on vinyl, so I think I'm going to show those to you guys in my next finds video coming up here shortly. So stay tuned if you're a Magazine fan. Okay, back to power pop, of course. The Knack's Get the Knack. Classic album, also one I featured in my very first power pop video. Can't go wrong with this album. I'm not a huge fan of all the lyrics on this album, but of course their hit My Sharona, that's one of the best power pop tunes of all time. Straightforward, punchy power pop. Fun album, fun band, get the knack. Okay, next we have an album from Tom Verlaine. And he was, of course, one of the guitarists in Television, which one of my favorite bands of all time as well. So Tom Verlaine and Richard Lloyd of Television, after the split of Television, they started their own solo careers, and this is Tom Verlaine's debut solo album that came out in '79 right here, and it's a very good release. I'm just a huge fan of Tom Verlaine's guitar playing. His vocals, take them or leave them, you know, but very creative artists. Just another one of the awesome albums that came out in 1979. I've got more to show. Of course, Clash, London Calling, with my cracked CD case. I don't have this one on vinyl. One of the best double albums ever, one of the best albums of all time, obviously. Every genre you can think of is on this album. It's just a monster album. Like, they transcended punk with this album, because before this it was kind of like strictly punk, but they just really expanded their sound on this album. And yeah, that's, everyone knows this album, I think, so that's all I'm gonna say about it. Clash's London Calling, what a release from 1979. Gary Newman's The Pleasure Principle, tremendous synth pop new wave album. Sounds like David Bowie was a huge influence on him for this release as well. Not a bad track on here, to be honest with you. Of course, his biggest hit ever, Cars, that's on this release. Engineers, that's a great one. Conversation, and Metal. That's a big sounding tune, Metal. One of my favorites right there. Okay, we're getting down to the wire, and the next one I want to feature is Elvis Costello's Armed Forces. This is the UK version, different cover than the US version. It's his third album. What an amazing streak of albums he had during this time. The production is wonderful on here. Plenty of hooks on here. It's edgy. He's branching out more lyrically and with more instruments as well. Accidents Will Happen, Oliver's Army, Party Girl. One of his best, in my opinion. Elvis Costello and the Attractions, Armed Forces. All right, next we have the Cramps, and with their debut album, Songs the Lord Taught Us. Crazy band, crazy album. Yeah, this is, I guess the term is psychobilly to kind of describe what kind of music they play. It's punky, kind of kooky out there lyrics. This is on IRS Records. I Was a Teenage Werewolf, The Mad Daddy. It's just fun. I love Poison Ivy's guitar playing. Interesting imagery. Check out the Cramps. I'm sure most of you know them. Power pop, more power pop with Dwight Twilley. I think this is his third album. It's just self-titled. I think I mentioned in my last power pop video that I was just really in a major Dwight Twilley phase. So since I already mentioned, I won't spend too much time on this. This is on Arista. The song Alone in My Room, that's just gorgeous. Well recorded. Another power pop master. So this self-titled one from him. Another 1979 gem. All right, Cheap Trick with their fourth studio album, Dream Police. Awesome inner gatefold there. And this one is on Epic. Lots of good songs on this one. You got, of course, the title track, Dream Police, Way of the World, Gonna Raise Hell, I'll Be With You Tonight, Need Your Love. Solid album from Cheap Trick. All right, we have Russ Never Sleeps from Neil Young and Crazy Horse. And some of the songs from Hitchhiker are on this album that he performed live. I love the song Pocahontas, Powderfinger, Hey Hey My My, Into the Black. It's also on here, so that's a pretty necessary Neil Young live release that any Neil Young fan should own. Even if you're not a huge Neil Young fan, this is an excellent live album. The Who, The Kids Are Alright. I have it, but I'm not going to show the cover because it is in horrible shape. And of course you need to see the movie The Kids Are Alright from The Who as well. So that's all I'm going to say about that. Alright, so to wrap this up, I'm also going to mention a bunch of albums here that came out in 1979 that I just don't have a physical copy of, but are really good in their own right as well. So you got Cars, Candy-O. I can't believe I don't have that on vinyl yet. I'm sure I'll find a copy this year for a good price. Wire, 154. Emmylou Harris, her album Blue Kentucky Girl. I have a couple Emmylou albums, I just don't have that one. The Cure, 3 Imaginary Boys. Stiff Little Fingers, Inflammable Material. It's funny because I have their second and third albums, but I don't have their debut, Inflammable Material. I'll grab them real quick. Sorry, I'm out of frame. I've got their albums Nobody's Heroes right there, and Go For It. Yet to find their first one. I've fallen into the trap, you guys, of the collector's trap, where I'm after first or early pressings of albums now, which is not, that means I'm deep into the hobby now, right? Reissues are fine, and I still buy plenty of reissues, but you know, stuff like Stiff Little Fingers or punk albums, I just prefer to find an original or earlier press. That's just me right now. So, Michael Jackson's Off the Wall, another amazing album. Blondie's Eat to the Beat. The Specials' self-titled album. Madness, One Step Beyond. Bob Dylan's Slow Train Coming. Pink Floyd's The Wall. AC/DC's Highway to Hell. And Led Zeppelin's In Through the Outdoor. These are just some of the albums that came out in 1979. Feel free to let me know what your favorite albums from 1979 are down in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. Let me know if you guys like this video. I had fun kind of preparing for it a little bit and getting excited to film it. So yeah, that's my little featurette on 1979. I'm going to be doing a vinyl finds video next. I have, oh geez, probably a huge ass stack of stuff this big, I don't know, sitting around, so it'll probably be broken up into a couple of videos. What I like to do is try to do a genre type of video and then do a finds video, just so I'm not boring everyone, because I know a lot of people don't like the genres that I feature or they're bored. So it's good to kind of get back to a vinyl finds video every now and then. Anyway, hope you all are staying safe. I'm waiting to get my second vaccine. Cheers, bye.